Yeah. Anyway, did you happen to hear about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion that just got shot?
But it's by the police, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
technically, off-duty cop. It's this guy, Leandro Lo. I mean, first off, this guy is a complete and utter savage, right? I mean, he's multiple world champion animal. Like, and then I kind of drill around watching him. I mean, he's like a mainstay in the jiu-jitsu community. I mean, all in all, stud. And I can't, I'm thinking about this, and I know, look, we, we always tell people, always assume, that your assailant's armed. I mean, do you know what the story is behind this thing?
I don't. I just heard bits and pieces of it, but I haven't really looked into it at all.
All right. So apparently he was at a concert, and so is this other off-duty cop, and he was sitting at a table. He had obviously probably had some booze on his table. Off-duty cop takes the bottle off his table. They have some words, and this guy, Leandro, takes him down and just smacks him around.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, yeah, of course, if this guy wanted to freaking destroy him, and I don't know anything about the cop, I don't know, I know nothing about him, but just looking at this dude, if he wanted to like take that guy off the count, yeah, I think he would have done
it. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think you have a problem with it. So they break him up. Cop now decides to draw his weapon and then puts it around in his poor guy's head. So, I mean, we always used to tell the story about the Italian soccer player in the subway in New York decades ago. Homeless guy came up to him, tried to, was asking for money. He said no. Guy got physical with him. Soccer player smacked him around. The guy then produced a shiv and just stabs him, right, multiple times. So we get into this thing, always assume, your assailant's armed. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I would have done anything different, right? I mean, if I sit there, and especially if you're like a world champion, you put your hands on a guy, you can just twist him up and call it a day. It's like not even fair.
That's right.
Right. I mean, it's like this guy is a different species, right? So, he, and he's, and as martial artists, and sportsmen, you're taught to show compassion, right? Fair play. I'm like, okay, I won, you lost, we shake hands, we call it a day.
Yep.
Right? So, but when you get into the real world, you've got egos, and obviously this cop is a freaking problem. And I would imagine he probably has a series of, abuse of power in his, throughout his career. Again, I don't know anything about him. I don't even know the guy's name. I don't want to say the guy's name. Right? But, so, you get into this fight, and you're like, okay, I won. And you leave, and you figure that's that. I mean, in reality, if you get into any altercation, again, I don't know what happened after the fight. I don't know how quickly this guy got up and drew a weapon, and I know nothing about it. All right, I'm just speaking in generalities based on assuming everybody's armed. Okay, so if you get into the slightest scuffle, you need to remove yourself from the situation, especially if you embarrass somebody like you most likely did. I think that, I mean, obviously this is, an awful tragedy. I mean, that goes without saying, but, I just wanted to make sure that, this shit like this bothers me because you got, this elite athlete who's just doing the right thing, hanging out, having a good time, and some piece of shit who just realized, hey, you know what? There's a lot of there's some stone cold dudes walking around there. you know, you know, and this is why you also treat everybody with respect, you know, and, you know, live your life in an honorable way. So anyway, you know, you've got this guy, you know, who, you know, defends himself, you know, stands up for himself against this piece of shit, and you know, loses his life. You know, when he very easily could have taken this guy's life.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. You know, we always like to go back on these things and be like, well, I wouldn't, you know, I don't know if, you know, given the time frame of everything happening, if somebody attacked me and I did the same thing, where the guy was like, okay. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and beat a guy to a pulp, right? I mean, I'm just not, you know, because then it's like, okay, but the problem is, and this is what we have to come to a reality, and this is what we have to conceptualize and really think about. The reality is, you beat a guy up, right? You take him down, you smack him around, he's on the ground, he's begging for his life, literally.
Yep.
Please stop me. You're going to stop. All right. Now you have the reality of this guy pulling a weapon and killing you.
Yeah.
So the only thing to really do in these situations is, if it does happen, is to, you know, immediately walk away or escape. But again, you know, here you are, you're at a concert, you're at an event, you're like, okay, you think that it's over, right?
Yeah.
I won, go back to business, have a nice day.
It's, you know, it's that whole, you're fucking damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, you know?
Yeah. You know, I mean, in reality, this is why we you know, samurai used to have like this cut and leave clause, I guess you would put it, where they could just kill you on sight, right? And the reason for that is for stuff like this, right? Someone has a problem with you, you know, they have the opportunity, because if I don't end you, I mean, there's a very good chance you could now, at least I know you have a reason to kill me, right? You know, there's that revenge factor.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you talk about, you know, walking away or escaping. I mean, sure, do that, and then the next day, here comes 3 or 4 or 5 fucking guys to your front door with fucking weapons, right? It's just.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about that, right? Right. You know, this guy's all of a sudden he smacks around a cop, and you know, this dude is clearly famous.
Yeah.
He's gonna find out who he is, and he's gonna be like, "Fuck this guy, let's go get him." You know, let's pull him over. Let's fucking, you know, the poor guy's life may have been doomed right from the jump.
Yeah.
Right, and I wouldn't be shocked if this cop knew who he was before he took the bottle. You know, especially, let me just see where he was. He was in Brazil. So, yeah. So again, per police report obtained by MMA Junkie, Lowe was shot in the forehead, and a brief physical altercation with Veloso ensued. That's what cops said. The dispute allegedly started when the cop took a bottle off Lowe's table. Lowe briefly took down the cop and controlled him. When the two were separated, cop pulled out a gun and fired at Lowe. So he really didn't. It sounds like he really didn't have a chance.
And after getting shot in the fucking head, look at that. He was kicked twice after, right in the head.
Oh, right. Oh, Judo Gene died. Holy shit.
Oh, here you go. You were talking about his past, right? Veloso had previously served 6 months for disrespecting an official.
Right. All right. There you go. And he was acquitted. I mean, look, tribalism and the blue line and the blue wall of silence, or even with the medical community, the white wall of silence, every community protects itself, right? So, I mean, this guy, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yep.
So he, you know, is obviously a problem. And this is why with law enforcement, you know, especially law enforcement, when you see guys that are problems, they gotta go.
Yeah.
They gotta go. There's too much stress on the job, right? They have too much, there's too much in the moment power, where they can make a decision that would, cost somebody their life. So rip Leandro. Sorry, brother. Man. And then another, that's what I just said, look at Judo Gene LaBelle is dead.
Yes.
Holy shit. So, so the story about him and Bruce Lee, and it was in, Once a Time in Hollywood. You saw that movie, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there was that scene where Brad Pitt's character was with Bruce Lee. It was based on Judo Gene and Bruce Lee. So, like, Bruce Lee was talking shit, about, traditional martial art, about traditional martial arts, and Judo was the most popular martial art at the time.
Yeah.
Karate was just kind of, coming in, and it was more like kind of a street fighting thing. Judo, being promoted by Japan, had a foothold in the U.S. So they got, Gene's like, okay, basically took him up on his challenge. And what happened is Gene grabbed him and like hold him over his head in a fireman's carry. And Bruce Lee was like, let me down, I'll kill you. And Gene's like, no. So why would I do that?
Yeah.
You're going to kill me. So, and that was it. He put him down and they were cool. And actually Bruce started training in Judo after that. But yeah. Yeah, he was a freaking stud. He always wore a pink gi. The story was when he was over in Japan, I think he was doing his laundry and a red sock or something got in his laundry and it turned his gi pink.
Nice.
So then that was his always thing. He's like a stunt man. He's fucking badass, man.
89, man. That's a pretty fucking good run.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And especially like 89 now.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, like, I think, and I was talking to my son about this, I think our generation is going to redefine old age. I mean, these guys, and we're learning more and more every day, right? But, about lifting and health and exercise and nutrition and things like that. I mean, look, there's no guarantee, but I'm sure, he lived a good life up until maybe like the last year. I don't know, right? So, the whole idea is to live as best as you can for as long as you can. And then when you die, just die off. What you don't want to do is live like, until you're like 60, 70, 65, 70 years old and then start stroking out. And then the next like 15 years in like utter pain.
Yeah.
Right. So, we're really trying to make longevity is one thing, but it's like the longer quality of life. I'm going to continue to do what I do, exercise, train, stay active and do that. It's because it's funny. I was like, just running or doing whatever. And this guy looks like he's gotta be close to 80. Him and his wife were walking around the track and I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, he saw me one day. I was actually, I do a couple mile walk with like a 50-pound weight vest. Right. So he's like, are you training for something? I'm like, yeah, training to be 100.
Yeah, that's right.
And he laughed because, yeah, me too, So, the longer that, like we started, like for our generation, for a lot of us working out for our entire lives, right? Not picking it up when we're fit. And it's never too late because your body regenerates itself. 100%. You can do these things. It's pretty incredible. So when you're doing this stuff, but for sure, man, like, our age group is like continuing. I mean, if you look at like what people look like in their 50s, even 10, 15 years ago, it looks a lot different.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So
now I was gonna you were just talking about the whole fucking retaliation thing, right? And there was a case here in Brampton, which is about an hour from me, and fucking nobody wants to live in Brampton, but there was footage that was shown. I'm going to try and find it. Footage shown of a fucking guy who was getting out of his truck or getting into his truck. And as he was getting into his truck, 3 guys fucking jacked him with axes and machetes. Just through the fucking window, pulling him out, slashing him with the fucking axe and the machete. He suffered severe injury, obviously, but was in stable condition after.
Was it a hit?
No story as to how or why, right? But yeah, just this fucking video of these three guys. All of a sudden, I don't know if they were attempted to carjack him, but the highlight was the little old lady who chased them off with the fucking shoe. You see her come out with the shoe. And these awesome guys go. I'm just like, what the hell?
It's right. That's all. Well, it's clear that those guys were looking for that guy.
Yeah, they said it was a target. They said it was a targeted hit, which immediately
totally
makes the whole retaliation thing, right? So,
right. I mean, look, it could be a number of things. What if the guy's a pedophile?
Yeah.
Like with the MMA fighter who's still in jail for shooting at that, pedophile who's out of jail and is, killing his dad. I mean, wounding his dad. I mean, just fucking doesn't make any sense to me. None of it does. And, we have to start living honestly and allowing people who, just add some sense to this shit, man. I don't know, let the pedophile out, and then the guy who killed him is, in jail, or shot at him is in jail. Letting the cop go for, whatever indiscretions. I'm like, look, if you're a physician, if you're somebody who has implicit trust, right, from the public, and you have, use of especially if you have use of deadly force at your disposal, if you do something to abuse that, you're fucking gone.
100%.
They're gone. And then the same token, these guys should be in therapy regularly. The mental health aspect, law enforcement, it's a tough job. You're dealing with shit, like shit. You're seeing people at their worst, and it's like some, it's horrific stuff. And if you're not, if you don't have the skills to deal with that, it's gonna happen to you. Plus, all these guys have lives like everybody else. They're getting divorced. They got financial issues. They got a whole bunch of shit going on too. It's not like they're machines. So, I think the mental health aspect of this, and a buddy of mine who's a cop is like really working on making that part of their culture on their department, where it's like you can just go in for that you're supposed to go in for like an hour session, let's say a month, and you can just go in there and sit there and not say anything. Wow. But everybody goes in for a month, so there's no stigma to it. It's like, okay, you gotta put your hour in, that's it. So
and that makes complete sense, because I got a buddy who works corrections, and I mean, talk about the shit that he has to fucking face on the daily. It's like, you need to be talking to somebody like, holy shit.
Right, man. And again, you got guys who are constantly trying to get over. They're all criminals.